It always pumps me up. Welcome back. We're just going to cut the music right there. Welcome back. In the 11th hour, we are pulling together the weekly live stream. I think this is number 7. I'm going to try to keep track of these throughout the year. The goal is to do one every single week. So 52 of these. It's going to be awfully difficult to pull one off in about another week or two because I'm going to be on family vacation. But we're still going to try to make it happen. We will try to make it happen. So let's dive right into this week's topic. Something that's been on my mind all week is taking the first step. What am I doing to take the first step? And why is taking the first step always the hardest? Why do you need to take a leap of faith now instead of finding ways to talk yourself out of it and never moving at all? So, taking the first step. This week, I have taken the first step in starting the podcast. And this week's live stream is sponsored by the Welcome Back podcast. In the description, you'll see a link to the submission form. I should have put a link to the YouTube channel, which I didn't do, but I guess I could pop that into the chat. Let's see if we can remember what it is. YouTube something. I want to say it's something like that. Maybe. I think that's it. So I took a leap of faith and I just started doing it. I took the first step. I used to have a podcast many, many years ago with a friend of mine, and we stopped doing it. And I always wanted to start one back up, but I really wanted to do an in-person podcast. There's a space right outside of my studio here where I have visualized where I would set this up, make a nice backdrop, have a couple chairs there, have a nice in-person setting where I could, basically just have conversations with people the way that I'm doing it now, but it would just be in person. I came to the realization this year that it was never going to happen. If I waited for me to do what was necessary to clear this space out, to get it built out, to set cameras up, to set lights up, because it would be like basically a permanent set there, it would just never happen. So I decided that I was going to just start it virtually, and as it progressed and when the time came, I would then move to doing it in person. And then maybe I would do some virtually still, but mainly I want to move it to do an in person podcast. I decided to just take the first step. And it was the hardest, right? There's always a lot of self doubt when taking the first step in any kind of venture. So, whether it's a personal or a business venture, taking that first step is always the hardest because there's the unknown that's attached to that. What if I fail? What if I do this and nobody watches? What if I take this first step and it's horrible? What if the audio's off? What if the lighting sucks? I got news for you. It's going to suck. It's going to suck. Those first couple you do, they're always going to suck. I'm pretty experienced in doing this, and I know that the first couple are probably going to suck. But we took the first step, and that's what's important. So last week, I did the first episode of the Welcome Back podcast. My guest was my older brother, Brian Brown. That podcast episode now is posted to the YouTube channel. And if you are anti YouTube, it's also posted to Rumble as well as several clips that are being posted before and after each of these episodes come out. I have a lot of interest actually in the podcast, which I'm very excited about. A lot of people put in submission forms. In the description of this live stream, there is a link if you are interested in being a guest on the show, or you know somebody who might want to be on the show. They could click that link, they could fill out the form. And basically, the way that it's going to work is, or let me take one step back and just kind of explain what the podcast is. It's about having interesting, inspirational conversation. I'm pretty transparent in the submission form on that submission page with the fact that not everybody's going to make it on the show. I don't necessarily want to talk to everybody. I do want to hear a wide variety of stories and topics and get to know people. But if for whatever reason, what is in that submission form, especially if I have a lot to go through, doesn't catch my eye or don't feel like it's going to be that interesting of a conversation, then I'm sorry, you're probably just not going to make it on the show. It's not personal. It's just I need to prioritize conversations that I find to be interesting and that I think might be motivational or teach a lesson to somebody. So whether you're a business owner or an entrepreneur or you overcome some challenge or you have a really crazy backstory, you could just be a regular person punching a clock, but you have a very interesting story to tell, whether it's about addiction or faith or crime or whatever the thing might be. If I think it's interesting, then I probably want to talk to you. But I took that first step, and it was the hardest because you got to set some things up. I needed to make a logo. I had to get the channels put together. Right, there were some moving pieces behind the scenes that I had to get put together. But I did it. I kind of got over the fear of just getting that first step done, and now we're just going to be moving forward. So I have the next one is already set up, that I'll be recording next week, and I have several others that are moving into basically the scheduling phase. So I'm very excited to finally say that the podcast is happening. I've been talking about it on every single one of these live streams since the beginning of the year. I'm gonna do a podcast. I'm gonna start the podcast. I'm gonna do a podcast. Well, now I'm finally doing it. So very excited about that and very excited about taking that first step. So, what is your situation? What is the thing that you've been stewing on, the thing that you've been thinking about, doing, whether it's starting a business, starting a hobby, moving jobs, asking that girl out on a date that you've been eyeing up at the job, whatever it is, what is the thing that's stopping you from taking that first step? As we already discussed and we know, the first step is always the hardest, right? But what is it that's stopping you from doing it? Most likely, in a very general sense, it's what I described that was stopping me from taking action and getting the podcast started when I said I would, is the fear of the unknown. And we have to throw that to the side. We have to let go of that fear and we have to face it head on. And we just have to barrel in. Sometimes we have to throw expectations out the window. We have to throw those fears out the window and we have to just move forward into the darkness, into the just throw caution to the wind and say I don't really care how this thing is going to go. All I know is that if I don't try, I'm going to regret never making the attempt. So why is that? Why is it there's something that you so drastically want to do, something that you've been thinking about, taking the leap on, but you just can't seem to move? Why is it so important that you do that now and you don't wait another moment, another day, another week, another month? Because you will regret never trying. That's why. You will always wonder what could have been if I would have tried. What could have been if I would have had a little bit of faith in myself, maybe faith in God, that was where I needed to go. That was the direction I needed to head in. But here I am stuck, living in the same old misery, the same routine that I was in, always wondering. That is no way to live. That's no way to live. And I urge you that whatever the thing is, if you've been on the fence about it and you've been frozen, you have analysis paralysis, you've been trying to find perfection before making the move, stop that. Just make the move. Have faith in yourself and jump forward. Leap into the darkness and just know that you're going to land. Know that you're going to catch your footing and everything's going to work out. Now you might be thinking to yourself, well, it might not work out. Well, it might not work out. You're right. Not everything is always going to work out. I heard somebody say once that you're either winning or you're learning. So it's either going to work out just how you envisioned it and you're going to be winning. Or maybe it's not going to work out the way you envisioned it and you're going to have an opportunity to learn what you need to do differently, what you could do better in order to find that footing, in order to land on solid ground. Let me give you another example of a first step that I took this week, just this morning, actually. For the past few months, I've been feeling myself stepping further and further away from God. Not, I want to say not intentionally, but maybe intentionally. I've just been kind of inundating myself with the routine of, business and trying to make things happen here. And I've been neglecting my relationship with God. And when I was in my hardest times in 2022, leading into 23, really in 2022, that's when I had lost my job. I had lost my way. It seemed like I was losing everything. The only thing that helped me and lifted me up out of that darkness was God and finding God and having a relationship with God. Now, I'm not preaching this to you to say that this is what you need, although it probably is. It's not going to hurt. Let's put it that way. But that's not the point of me telling you that. I've been thinking to myself and I've been saying to my brother and to my father and people around me that, I haven't been going to church. I haven't been spending time with God. I haven't been reading the Bible. I've been praying, but I haven't been intentional with it. So today, or actually last night, I hit my father up and I said, "Hey, you want to go to church tomorrow?" He said, "Sure, of course." I knew he would. And we went to church this morning. And it is an interesting thing about God. Every time I go to church, I hear exactly what it is I need to hear. Now, I've been stressing out so far this year about business. Things haven't been lining up. I haven't been doing as much new business as I would like to, kind of stressing out a little bit about it. I know everything's going to be fine. It's going to work out in the end, but still doesn't stop me from stressing out because guess what? I got a family to feed. I got bills to pay. Um, the scripture that was covered today in church was Hebrews 5 through 23, whatever the end of that book is. And the in 5 and I want to say 6, verse 5 and verse 6, it's all about um not being greedy and to kind of generally place your values in the right order, right? And it kind of resonated with me because I have been stressing out and I have been wanting to lock things in and I've been really placing a lot on the financial gain of that instead of remembering why it is that I named my company what I named it and why it is that I operate in the way that I operate, which is bringing value to people. So placing that first over finances, I kind of got things screwed up and I was placing finances or the need or the want for finances in front of the more important part, which is bringing value. And I don't know, it just hit me and it resonated with me today and it's what I needed to hear. I took that first step today to get back to church and I heard exactly what I needed to hear. I had some faith in myself, in the Lord, and I was able to hear the message that I needed to hear when I needed to hear it the most. So it's just about taking that step. Take that step because you won't regret it. You won't regret it. It might not land the way that you want it to, but it will give you an opportunity to either win or learn. We're never losing if we're learning. So I think that's really important. So I'd like to hear from you. What is it that you are just stuck in place, scared to take that first step on? Is it a new job? Are you in a relationship that isn't fulfilling you and you've been one foot out the door? I'm not encouraging you to fucking run on that, but what I'm encouraging you is to do everything that it takes to bring happiness to yourself. And that might mean doing the hard work in that relationship. These are just examples. I'm just kind of throwing things out there, hoping that it will resonate with somebody who's hearing this. Taking the first step is only the first step, though, right? Once we take that first step, what's next? Well, the second step, you would you would think to yourself, the next step is always the next step, and you wouldn't be wrong about that. But as long as you are constantly moving forward and improving and bringing value, and you have good intention in your moves, I don't think you can go wrong. So you need to do what is right for you. You need to do what's right for those around you that you love. And you need to not be stuck in this place where if you don't take the first step, you will regret it for the rest of your life. That's what this live stream is about today. It's just been on my mind really all week. I've intended to do this earlier in the week, and I know it's late, and it's basically the 11th hour here, and I'm pulling this live stream together for the week. But it's been on my heart and it's been on my mind to share this. Um, Not overly deep here, but at least I was able to get it out, and maybe it helps somebody out there who hears this. So again, I'm going to be doing these weekly live streams where I just kind of whatever's on my mind. It's really a practice in thought. You know, it's kind of like a thought practice here where I'm just speaking into the camera. Eventually, one of these weeks, maybe it's number 7, maybe it's week number 52, where people actually start joining in and engaging with these with these live streams. But that's neither here nor there. I plan on doing them every single week, one a week for the entire year. That's my goal. And I'm trying to hit it, and I'm doing everything that I can to make sure that I hit it, and also bring some sort of value to anybody who might see these either on the live stream or on the replay. Again, this week's live stream is brought to you by the Welcome Back podcast. It's a brand new podcast that I started where I have one-on-one discussions with people that I find interesting, and I find out what makes them tick. I learn about the obstacles that they've overcome, the challenges that they've faced, the achievements that they've been able to grab hold of. And hopefully, through those conversations and sharing those with you, I'm able to provide an opportunity for everybody to learn, including myself, from their stories, and also give them an opportunity to tell their story and maybe even, promote a book or a business or a venture that they are undertaking. So this week is brought to you by that, the Welcome Back podcast. And I will see you on next week's live stream. Thanks.